watching Metropole Television. This is Business AM. My name is Simba Elijah Kiagi. Good. The markets are reacting just to the events that are happening in the country and around the world when it comes to the first quarter of 2020 in the country. We've already been warned of the attack of locusts that's actually going to affect the way in which the economy is going to perform in 2020. And now remember, we were talking about a 7% level, which we've already been warned that might actually be affecting it. Other than that, we're already seeing what the Central Bank of Kenya is telling us about exactly what is happening in different sectors of the economy. That is in terms of percentage growths, all right, projected growth as well, and exactly what they want the economy to drive toward. That's fine. Now, all these things as well, we're talking about markets this morning, and so that makes sense, therefore, for us to look about how all these things are affecting our Forex market. Good. Just towards the end of last year, if you remember, when Scalp Markets was actually officially launched in the country, we did talk to the CEO, Kevin Nyanga. And this morning, therefore, we are starting 2020 with him, so we can actually see how the Forex market is shaping in 2020. Mr. Nyanga. Karibu sana.
Simba, great to be back.
Anytime.
Yes.
I just want us to start this conversation from this basic point, really. It was a spectacular launch for you.
Thank you.
We're talking almost 1,000 accounts that actually hit Scalp Markets just in the first few days of opening, isn't it?
Yes.
How is the trend keeping up?
I'm happy to report that the momentum has not slowed.
Yes.
We in the last say 6 weeks, we've trained over 1,300 newbies at our training center in Westlands.
Yes.
We are very excited. The momentum has continued to grow. We've seen double-digit growth month on month.
Yes.
We are very excited about two things. One, Kenyans are starting to understand the product a lot more, better. Two, Kenyans are actually very keen to understand how can I do this as a side hustle or a side economy?
Yes.
Because you do appreciate that not everybody has the opportunity to have employment. And we've realized two things. Number one, there's an age group for 24 to 27 that are very interested in our product.
Yes.
We have now even evolved into now doing digital learning, where we're giving people self-learning mechanisms. And for us, that's been one of the biggest issues that we are trying to address. As I spoke to you last time, I told you that the biggest challenge we faced was education.
Yes.
And now we are taking that head on. We have classes from Tuesday to Saturday. So if you're employed, you can come on Saturday, or if you're employed, you can even come in the evenings.
Yes.
And we are now seeing a lot more engagement. We are now seeing a lot more community initiatives where people are being mentored. The newbies, the slightly older people are actually asking for mentorship. So I'm very excited about that because I'm passionate about Forex markets.
Yes. All right, I just want therefore to go back and talk to you about your targets, especially when you actually launched in the market. Are you saying, when you look at your month-on targets you actually wanted to get in terms of training and new subscriptions into Scalp Markets, are they there so far? Yes,
they are on track. As I told you, we have a crazy ambition to get 50,000 people trained this year.
Yes.
We are now ramping up because January is typically everybody getting back to work. So now we are ramping up our initiatives. We are now going countrywide. We are now going regional as well. So there's a lot of work that we are putting in the back end. You will see a lot more engagement. We are actually looking at a lot more partnerships, which you will see. Watch this space. We'll see how that progresses. There are headwinds that we are seeing, obviously. It's not always rosy.
Yes.
We are starting to see a lot more people asking us about trust. Are you regulated? Which we are happy to, which is a good headwind because we are happy to report that we are regulated by Capital Markets Authority because people have always been worried about this issue of scams and trust. So that's a headwind that we are facing, but we continue to continuously engage our audience to
Yes.
explain to them why we are regulated, why is it important to have these regulations in
Pretty
place.
much, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just want us to really talk about that regulation aspect, because
Yep.
as everybody does, no, when
Yes.
you're trading online, then you're
Yes.
exposed to a lot of insecurities that you actually will not even be prepared for. We've seen
Correct.
cases within the economy where people have actually been scammed online. I just want to know how, therefore, for anybody listening to you this morning,
Yeah.
we'll start to know how you're regulated,
Yeah.
and what sort of security, therefore, does that bring
Okay.
around this person interested in trading with scope markets?
So there are two parts to regulations. One is what you call monitoring, and the other part is reporting.
Yes.
So under reporting, we have the obligations and have it's necessary for us to do reporting on how we onboard clients, because as you do appreciate, is source of wealth and income and where it is in these days of terrorism financing and anti-money laundering issues is very critical. So the first step that we do is we make sure that, similar to the bank level onboarding procedure, we do a comprehensive KYC, and the regulator continuously reviews how are you onboarding your clients, what type of clients are you onboarding, what is the source of their funds. That's a very important part for the regulator, because they have a part to play with regards to the national security of our country.
Yes.
That's one part. That's from reporting. Once you're onboarded, what sort of content are you offering the clients from a training perspective? The regulator is very keen to understand that investor education, it's one of their most important objectives, is that investor education, investor protection happens. So before we get you to start trading, we explain to you what are your rights under these regulations. For example, if you have a client complaint, all licensed online forex brokers are supposed to have a complaints handling procedure that if I'm not able to address as Scoop Markets, you have an escalation procedure to the Capital Markets Authority.
Yes.
The Capital Markets Authority reviews your complaints handling procedure and complaints handling register on a monthly basis.
Yes.
And they always review, okay, what number of complaints did you receive? Well, how did you address them? Did they require escalation? And that's the beautiful thing about a regulated industry, is that you're held to account for how you're managing your clients.
Yes.
And then from a monitoring perspective, obviously they also look at our cyber security measures that we take in, how our servers set up, are our clients protected from any potential hacks? So we are continuously doing penetration tests that we report into that. We are required to do an IT audit by the regulator at least every 6 months.
Yes.
And these are some of the things that we are really trying to take to our audience, to explain to them that this is the reason why regulations work, because you're protected. Cybersecurity, money laundering, client money protection, segregated accounts, these are very critical parts for the regulator, and that's what we are continuously engaging, so that we ensure that we invest in technology that allows better reporting to the Capital Markets Authority.
Yes. We did identify, and
Yeah.
it's a good thing that when we were speaking together last year, you actually did identify that the main problem,
Yeah.
or the challenge for you in the market, is going to be proper education.
Correct.
That you have this target customer,
Yes.
but at the end of the day, this target customer doesn't know anything about Forex trading.
Correct.
Or doesn't know purely everything about Forex trading.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me, how long do your
Yeah.
programs, now that you have a hand on them,
Yes.
how long do they take? And then
Okay.
how does the transition period therefore
okay.
happen for your customer?
So how we've designed our training program
Yes.
is we essentially call it a journey. Just the way you would go to high school, graduate from high school, then go to campus, graduate, and then do postgraduate. So we've split it into 3 parts. We have an introductory course, we have an intermediate, and then we have what you call a mentorship. Now, at the post-basic introductory, we hold you accountable for content. So what we do is we have an in-house fully fledged trainer that will have 3 sessions a week.
Yes.
That gives you a very basic, we really unpack it. We use real life examples like mangoes, and this is how Forex works. So that the most important thing is that for you to get comfortable with the product.
Yes.
The second part about the introductory is we also train you how to use the platform. This is the MT5 trading platform. This is what it can do for you. This is how to execute a trade. This is what to look out for. These are the tools that you have on the platform, because it has an insurmountable amount of tools that help people become better traders.
Yes.
Then the third part about that training program is we now give you a lot more information about how markets move. So it's a 3-part. Now, once you've conquered the introductory, you transition into what we call intermediate, which now requires you to actually trade with some small amount of money. Why? Because we want you to understand that psychology, because trading is not only about research, it's also about psychology. So we want you to understand a little bit more about the trading psychology. How do markets move? How do the charts work? What is it you need to look out for? How do you research? This typically takes us about 3 weeks.
2 weeks.
And then now it's a continuous process where you graduate into a mentorship.
Yes.
The mentorship session is why we find the most excitement, because what we do is we come and do live trading sessions with mentors.
Yes.
So a mentor comes and educates you and tells you, okay, he has his own live trading account and he actually executes trades real time.
Yes.
And tells you, okay, this is what the chart is looking at, this is why I'm buying into this trade, and if he makes money, this is why I made money. And these mentorship sessions are continuous. We have a fully fledged team and partnerships of at least, I think, about 8 mentors.
Yes.
And these mentors apply different trading strategies. So we expose you to the different trading strategies and see what works for you. Whether you're a short-term trader, whether you're a long-term trader,
Yes.
we give you those tools to learn. And now, the beautiful thing about our program is we never stop educating you.
Isn't it? So it's a continuous process,
It's a
isn't it?
continuous.
Yes.
So we have mentorship sessions every week,
Yes.
twice a week, continuously. So we have different people. Then what we've done, which is something I'm very excited about, is we've got global traders who come and do mentorship sessions.
Yes.
So we're not talking about Kenyan experienced traders. Last week we had a lady who's been trading the markets for 38 years.
Quite long.
She did a mentorship session for 200 people. Some came to the site, some signed in on our web.
Yes.
And these are some of the things that we are passionate about, because we are not saying that just come and put your money in and start trading. We want you to learn from the best. We want you to hear the experiences from the best, because they have avoided the pitfalls. They've also gone through some pitfalls and
Yes.
seen, and that's what we are trying to change.
Yes.
So that's how the educational program works.
Yes. So do I have to pay to actually get trained with you? And how do you, therefore, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
make sure that this person that you're spending your resources and time to train
Yeah.
is actually going to graduate and join Scope Market?
So the training sessions, that what I've given you is 100% free.
Yes.
We host them online. We host them physically.
Yes.
You get some goodies, small drinks and that. The thing about it is, this is a starting point. We must invest. It is not, can I say, an extractive conversation where I tell you, okay, if you don't train, no. We've taken a view that we want to invest in education,
Yes.
and we want Kenyans to be financially savvy. So for us, it's just an investment that
Pretty
we're
much,
doing now.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So this morning, I just want you to talk to that person who's pretty much has an idea
Yep.
on how Forex trading actually does go in. Let's understand the risks, how you
Okay.
approach the risks involved with
Yeah.
Forex trading.
So a couple of things. So number one, we call what I call operational risks.
Yes.
You must be able to understand that trading is a 24-hour, 5 days a week.
Yes.
So you must first, from an operational perspective, what do I mean operational? I mean you must develop your own working schedule. So do you want to trade the New York markets? Do you want to trade the Tokyo markets? Do you want to trade the London markets?
Yes.
Because markets move and they don't wait for you. So the first thing is you must get organized operationally. If I have a job, am I able to trade during my work hours? Possibly not.
Yes.
So I should maybe try and think about doing trade after hours. If I'm self-employed, I have time during the day. It's very important for you to understand your trading schedule. That's number one. Number
Yes.
two, you must take time to let your strategy understand. Sorry, it's important for you to research your strategy and let it build and blossom. A strategy doesn't come out overnight.
It takes
It
time,
doesn't.
isn't it?
It takes time.
Yes.
So the thing when you talk about risks, why do I say it's a risk? you must understand that if you don't take time to learn your craft,
Yes.
there's a risk that you will lose money.
Pretty much.
So you must start with the basics. Have a proper trading schedule. 2, understand what it is that your strategy is building. Understand your strategy will take time.
Yes.
Number 3, it's very important, and it's the most important thing in trading, is what you call money management and risk management. You must understand at what level am I willing to risk, how much am I willing to risk for an upside. So
Yes.
if you have $200 trading, say 20,000 shillings, what am I willing to risk from a loss perspective? Because the markets can go against you, just like a share can go against you. The markets can also go against you. You have a strategy, maybe it didn't work. You must be comfortable with a certain amount of loss. So you say, I'm only willing to risk 5%
Yes.
of my capital.
Yes.
That's very critical. So that's what we educate people, that understand the psychology and understand money management. What are the risk reward parametrics you want to look at?
Yes.
Not parametrics, but metrics that you want to look at.
Yes.
Based on the parameters that you've put in place on the strategy. The other thing that you also need to understand is, are you trading with a regulated broker? That if you have an issue with your regulator,
Yes.
with your broker, how do you, if he's, for example, you put 20,000 shillings and you made profit of 5,000 shillings, can you access that 5,000 shillings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Because the regulations require us to hold money in segregated accounts unencumbered.
Yes.
So you should be able to have access to your funds in real time. Those are the risks, because it's very important that you understand which regulated entity you're working with. That in the case you need to escalate an issue that has not been resolved, you have an outlet through the regulator. And those are the risks, because what typically happens with unregulated brokers is, if you have an issue, especially it comes to withdrawing your profits or your capital.
And that's where the issue
That's
is,
where
and that's
the
where
real
most of the
issue is.
issues are when it
Yeah.
comes to FX trading.
And the other thing is, of course, some people don't have the time, so they
Yes.
typically rely on somebody else to manage for them the trades. We now have regulations that restrict money management.
Yes.
And you must, if you're going to give your money to somebody to trade for you, it's important for you to confirm, are you regulated as a money manager by the CMA?
Pretty much.
Because what typically happens is, I can give you Simba money, Simba decides, now I'm going to buy a Mercedes Benz and disappear with the money and tell you the markets went against me.
Yes.
And there's no really evidence.
Yes.
And with money management, you open the account with the broker, you control the money.
Yes.
The broker only trades, the money manager only trades on your behalf. He doesn't have access to your funds.
Yes.
And that's how it should be,
Yes.
so that you have control of your funds.
I would like to think that at the end of the day, you have two people here that you're really targeting the market.
Yes.
You're targeting this long-term trader, and you're also targeting this short-term trader. They're all
Yeah.
good for your account, I would
Yes.
like to think as well.
Yes.
So talk to me, which person really graduates to become a long-term trader and the short-term trader as well? And are they operating under two different terms here when it comes to understanding the FX market?
So depending on, and that's why depending on what your strategy is and
Yes.
how you continuously learn, we have people who like short-term trades.
Yes.
Because for them, they like to get profits now, today.
Pretty much.
Okay.
What do I need to understand as a short-term trader?
Yes.
Because am I approaching the market at that specific time?
Yes.
This is exactly what I want to talk
Correct.
about this morning.
So
yeah.
a short-term trader
Yes.
would spend a fair bit of his day
I see.
looking at the markets, getting in, getting out, getting in, getting out, purely based on his strategy.
Yes.
It's what you call scalping. Then you've got long-term traders who are basically swing traders who look at longer-term trends. So, for example, you would find that maybe they look at, there's a long-term view around where oil is going to, and the charts tell them that oil will probably, long-term view is to go to about 70, 75.
Yes.
So they get in and they have patience. They're what you call patient traders. And they let the trade mature. They let the trade see itself out.
Yes.
So, I mean, the jury's out on what is better, because some work, some don't work, and I'm happy to have a debate about that
Yes.
when we have our trading sessions. But
Yes.
our platform accommodates whether you're a short-term trader, whether you're a long-term trader. It's about your personal investment objectives.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I just want us therefore to look at exactly where we stand as 2020 begins.
Yes.
On our FX markets. I mean,
Yeah.
just the other day, the Central Bank of Kenya actually, and the MPC did set the basic lending rate at 8.25%, just
Yeah.
25 basis points off where they were
Yes.
just last year at 8.5%.
Yeah.
Did that really do a lot of
Well,
yes.
I'm actually pleasantly
Yes.
surprised that there's a lot more action. I think there's two parts to this. I
Yes.
think we are in a process of fiscal consolidation, and at the point of fiscal consolidation, I also think that the monetary stance
Yes.
is expansionary. What that means is that I expect private sector credit to grow. I saw December private sector credit now went up to 7.1%.
Yeah, actually 7.1%. Yes.
7.1%.
Everybody was expecting double digits, but they didn't really get there.
But I think what you need to understand is lending, private sector credit has what you call a lag.
Yes.
So you'd see the effects of the first rate cut of 8.5. You start seeing the effects about 60 days later.
Yes.
So you should start seeing private sector credit growth ramp up from February and March.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would expect the market to be patient a little bit to see what are the impacts of that. The other thing that you have to look at is the inflation numbers. We've seen inflation has remained well contained into the last quarter, 5.65.
Yes.
I do see obviously some exogenous risks with the locust issue. I've seen oil prices come down. You have global exogenous factors like the virus coming in,
Yes.
which will impact China consumption of oil. So you should expect to see oil being tapered around $60 a barrel, which is good for the country because our import bill gets capped.
Yes.
I see current account deficit drop into sub 5. Once you see sub 5, you should start seeing a lot more. The thing that you have to ask yourself is, with private sector credit growth increasing, you should expect to see a lot more capital goods importation,
Yes.
Machinery imports. You probably will see a bit of pressure on the shilling.
Yes.
Because also yields, Kenya shilling bond yields should start coming down,
Yes.
which may start having impact on foreign investors coming in. So investor inflows may look a bit tapered in the short run. So I do expect a little bit of pressure on the shilling, probably 102.50, but I don't expect anything extended beyond that.
Yes. Let's look at the global perspective, which is where we are actually
Yes.
trading at right now.
Yes.
I want you to talk to me about, did you recognize a big shift in the sentiment of the markets when the US and China actually did sign phase 1 trade deal?
Yeah.
And what have you seen the shift has been now that China is actually battling the coronavirus as
Yeah,
well?
I think two things. One, there's going to be a lot of political impact or geopolitics. We've got US Iran, you've got Middle East tensions that you have to consider.
Yes.
You've got a US election coming up. I think there's a jury still out on the US trade, US-China trade, because I think a deal needs to be, because we've had this conversation for
Yes.
now 2 years on the trade war. I think two things you need to be considerate about is there's combination of at least 8 central banks globally that are reducing their interest rates.
Yes.
So I do expect to see a lot more liquidity in the market. I do a lot more to see continued growth, spikes in the stock market. But the question is inflation.
Yes.
I think one of the things that we need to be very careful about globally is, are we able to tame this inflation sooner than it gets?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. As we cap this conversation, Kevin, I want you
Yeah.
to tell me what your targets for 2020 are for scope markets, just going by what you've seen now from your trainings and your count now.
So 2020, we are really keen about, our targets are enhanced partnerships
Yes.
from different parts of the sector. 2020, we are really keen to get into institutional businesses as well. We do believe that Kenyan investing public, Kenyan pension funds have big opportunities. So we have a lot of interest in that in 2020.
Yes.
We do think that from a target perspective, we want to get a lot more regulator engagement. There's a lot more for product development that we can offer.
Yes.
So our targets are to get the regulator to allow us to engage a lot more from a product perspective. So our targets are to roll out a lot more products because we have capability. We are now engaging the regulator, and of course, for me, education. That's my one objective. I still have my 50,000 target.
Yes.
I think I will pass it because of the plans we are putting in place. So we hope to be able to say at the end of 2020, I have a fully fledged assault army of financial investors in Kenya.
Well educated and actually within scope.
Within scope markets.
Pretty much.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
Kevin. Always a pleasure to speak to you, sir.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Anyway, that's exactly what it is. They are from scope markets. Now, you do know they are actually regulated. All right. Those securities are now quite in check. So now the only thing that you have to do, make sure you actually get to know where the trading essentials are, so that even if you want to be a short-term trader who wants to actually get something before the end of January, you can actually get that information you need within 2 to 3 weeks. Then after that, you're actually trading as well, isn't it? Get to open yourself an account, and then after that, be an active trader. Some of the issues that we're actually speaking here this morning about what the US and China are doing and what the coronavirus is actually doing to the global economy are some of those issues that you have to know, so that now once you're trading, you're not actually going into the red zones, if I may say so. Good morning. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage.